I have built, managed, trained, and ran some of the largest sales teams in the United States. And what's been fun about it is some of them have started out somewhat smaller and we've learned how to grow these companies. So whether it's from a sub $1 million company that wants to grow to five or somebody that's five and wants to grow to 50.
It's time for another episode of Rainmaker for Contractors. Interviews and success stories with $1 million plus basement waterproofing and foundation repair owners. Discover how they market and grow their companies in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your industry. With your host and Rainmaker for Contractors owner, Bill Crawford.
Hey, what's up? Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Today, we have the one and only Toki. Chuck, thank you so much for joining our podcast. How you doing today?
Right. And thanks for having me on, Bill.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna let Chuck fill in the blanks, but for those of you that don't know who Chuck is he's really a true rock star in the area of coaching home improvement sales reps and companies, especially in the roofing space and the concrete coating space. But Chuck's got like a really long resume and he could probably talk for a long time. Chuck has spoken at the World of Concrete and where Basement Health Association has kind of worked with his company, Top Reps. Chuck, fill in the blanks a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I've been in sales for about 20 years. And since being in the sales world, I have built, managed, trained, and ran some of the largest sales teams in the United States. And what's been fun about it is some of them have started out somewhat smaller and we've learned how to grow these companies. So whether it's from a sub $1 million company that wants to grow to five or somebody that's five and wants to grow to 50, we've done, and we work with power washers and I mean, our latest right now is we have a ton of Christmas light guys
Wow.
and we do very, very well with them. But, being inside of the home improvement space, we don't shy away from anything, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, concrete coating is a big, big industry for us, mainly because I used to own a concrete coating organization before we got bought. And then going into roofing, roofing is about 80% of what we get because there's so many roofers there's so much change inside of roofing. And then we have a lot of crawl space people, a lot of the basement dry people that we work with. And where the reason why so many people come to Top Rep is in the simple fact that we help you be different. It's not about, hey, let us come up with this sales system, which we have sales systems, leadership systems, but it's how we help you become different in the market in which it seems like everybody's the same.
Love it. That is awesome. So I heard you speak a couple years ago in Vegas. I was really impressed with your background, with your understanding of psychology and how you allow how it's built in. But that's gonna beg a question. Tell us some common ways that you position your clients to be different.
So one of the biggest ways is to understand how to talk in the house. So if you're going to learn how to sell through your manufacturer, whoever it is you buy your products through, you're going to be the same as everybody else every single time. If, inside of the crawl spaces, what we have found is everybody talks the same way, they sell the same way. And what we wanted to do is change your offering around a little bit. And without saying too much, we want to change how you word and offer your guarantees. We want to help you change the way that we express how the products that we're going to bring in, how we're going to give them that big hug to let them know it's going to be okay. Because what everybody wants to compete on is their product. If you're going to compete on product or price, you will lose 100% of the time. 100% of the time. What I mean by lose doesn't mean that you lose the sale. Oh no, you get the sale, you just don't make anything because you're pinpointing the two things that make you the same as everybody else, your product and your pricing. Whether if you're the lowest price, well, guess what you don't have? Profit. If you all have the same product and you talk about the same product, well, guess what you have? The same as everybody else. So we have to position you as a different organization.
Oh man, I love that. So in waterproofing, if reps don't catch themselves or if they don't have a coach to tell them that, they're talking about the size rock that they use to backfill stuff or the thickness of the plastic or the holes are facing this way instead of that way. Yeah, I mean, it's like selling a car. It's like, does the sales rep stick your head in the under the hood and say, like, look how cool our cables are? That's just not it. It's like get inside and drive it, take it home, blast the
Right.
stereo. Like, how's it feel? It's you. Like, there's just so much more. That's really cool. I love what were you doing that. Yeah, so you probably know that John Bryan and I have taught many sales training classes, and like yourself, and smaller size than you, but you get a lot of repeat customers, and it's really interesting for me to see, what's been applied and what hasn't been applied. And there's always tension around, gosh, how do you get both homeowners at the inspection, at the appointment, and for basement waterproofing, it's great to get both homeowners downstairs, it's just so they could experience that together. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on. It's not, you don't. We always teach you don't make the sale at the kitchen table with your Sharpie and drawing stick figures. They have
Right.
to feel and experience it. So what are your comments? And I have a few comments about basement waterproofing in that sale, but just with that whole one-legger, two-legger thing, how do you teach that?
So it starts with the person that sets the appointment. And an easy way to try, because you're never going to get 100% of everybody's at the table with you. You're always going to have a certain amount of one legs. But if you are more than 10%, we tell our clients, if you're more than 10% of your appointments are one legs, you're setting them completely wrong.
Nice.
And also, if you're more than 10% of nothing but one legs, I mean, your close rate is going to plummet. So everybody that has a hand in setting the appointment or having, or the appointment in general is the reason why that appointment closes. Yeah, we glorify the sales rep. And then we forget about the person that set that ball up on the tee so that sales rep can smack it off. And so it starts with the marketing people. And once it gets to that person that sets the appointment, what we do inside of that is we'll let that homeowner know, hey, so for the very first appointment, we just ask that all homeowners are present. And all subsequent appointments, it's totally up to you. We're a one call close. We don't have subsequent appointments. And so when we mention this to the homeowner, they're like, okay, so it's going to be more of a fact finding thing. And more often than not, there's husband and wife right there. Now, we say that all husband or all people have been to sales school. So buyers are liars. And I do it myself. If I don't want to be sold, the easiest way to do it is make sure my wife's at the store when the sales rep's there.
Sure.
I don't have to make a decision. You can't even ask me to make a decision. And so it's very easy. And the homeowners know this too. That's why we say that all homeowners have been to sales school. They know how this works. And if they don't want to make a decision, they just make sure that one or the other's not there.
So on that, I totally agree with you, by the way. I just love how you're wording it. On that initial call, you're saying just for the initial appointment, and you're leaving that door open, like we're not going to come in strong trying to do the one close. So they already think, okay, cool. These guys are cool. There's going to be follow up. We'll just blow them off. They can come back later. But at least they're both going to be there. I love that. That's beautiful. And then here's a point of tension as well is we always teach to get to the kitchen table as much as possible. You don't want to blow out the lead, but take a couple swings at that. You're going to get in basement waterproofing, it's a lot of times, you're knocking on the door. Yeah, the basement's down there, or come on, I'll show you. And they're up like, well, hang on, we could just sit down first, ask you a few questions. I noticed like way too many waterproofers that I'm comfortable with are not getting to the kitchen table. Any thoughts on that?
So this is a problem as long as time. So when we get into the house, who's in control? Is
Right.
the sales rep or is the estimator, are they in control or is the homeowner in control? And this is why we script a sales rep from the time they knock on the door to the time they walk back to their car. And so when you knock on the door, you know what to say. And I'm going to jump right into questions because who's always in control? The person asking the questions.
Right.
And so I'm going to ask, is right now still a good time for you and Barb to spend the next 60 to 90 minutes with me? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. And is it okay where I park? Well, guess who's in control now? Me, because I'm the one asking the questions. And so, all the way through me walking through the door, one of the things that I'm going to do is, hey, do you have a place that I could sit down and set up at? I mean, all I've got is maybe a cell phone and an iPad, but I'm going to set that iPad up when I get there and I'm going to sit down. And so if you sit down at the kitchen table, they'll sit down at the kitchen table and start to go into a little bit of small talk. But too often we don't script our sales reps and they get in the house and they say, "Oh, I'm going to wing it." And this is how it typically goes. "Hi, Bob. Yeah. Oh, Bob, thanks for inviting us out." And they walk into the house and that Bob is going to start leading you around by the ear. All right. So go ahead and let me show you the basement. Let me show you what we have going on. So now the homeowner's in control. So we need to start out with some questions, some easy questions, and try to get them to the kitchen table. If they lead me to a couch, I'm okay with that.
Totally. Yep,
What I don't want to see is the patient right away.
that's right. It's that whole you go to the doctor's office and what happens? Fill this clipboard out, come on back. They walk in the room, shout your name. There's only one person in the room, they scream it like there's 100. You get up, and then you're asking more, you're answering more questions for the assistant, right? So the expert's not there yet. So I absolutely love that. How about the inspection? All right. I mean, I think this is just I'm going to back up a little bit. So you get to the kitchen table. Let's say you get both homeowners there. I like the asking the questions. You're in control. How do we get both homeowners in the basement? The wife sometimes like to do the cooking or, it's downstairs. Let us know what you find. We'll be around the house. Just give us a shout. How do they avoid that?
So you're not always going to get the wife to follow or the husband, whichever, to follow you. If she's making dinner, if she's taking care of the kids or him, I'm not sexist,
Sure.
but if that's happening, you ask once, but you leave it alone. You ask in a certain way, hey, I'm sure I'm going to have some questions that both of you are going to want to answer. And so if you don't mind, and if you're available, I would love for you to follow us down.
Good. But you
And
gotta ask. If you don't
gotta
ask,
ask.
nothing's right. Sometimes we hand tools, and, "Hey, if you could help me out," or a lot of times you'll have known something that'll be really helpful downstairs, so that's good. So I like the inspection part of it. To me, that's where the sale gets made. It's when they usually call with like, "Well, we only get rain, twice a year when it's real heavy and we have a couple cracks." And that's kind of all you get on the phone typically, but then you get there and there's always way more going on. And so I think the smart rep is looking eventually for the mold, dry rot, rust, bugs, indoor air quality stuff. That gets into health, and that stuff tends to be there whether it rained last week or a month ago or not. It just kinda hangs out there. All you really need is 60% relative humidity, and it's a lot of that stuff's growing and reproducing itself. So, when you spoke in Vegas a couple of years ago, I was intrigued with your idea of filming and assuming the sale, very much so. We're gonna be doing this, or we're gonna be doing that. Um, that's a little bit that to me would be after the inspection and is certainly useful if you're pitching a one leg, so to speak. But before we get to the videotaping, any thoughts on just the discovery process with the homeowners as you gently kind of like we typically teach to start with the water and cracks. And then like together you kind of gently go like, oh, how long has this mold been here? If you notice this mold growth anywhere else, and together and you have a lot of tools and you look professional. It's like a doctor. He doesn't show up with jeans and a t-shirt. He's got professional equipment so you can analyze this stuff. But any thoughts about that experience inside the inspection where damages are kind of discovered with the homeowner?
So when you're like, if you're in a crawl space, y- typically the homeowner's not going with you.
That's right.
They were probably in there and they found what was going on, but they're not going in there twice. The crawl spaces and for many homes, that's a scary place to go anyway. But so your video is going to be huge there rather than these folks that go in and just take a bunch of pictures. They have no idea what they're looking at. It's like the roofers. They show them a pipe boot. They've never been on their roof. They don't know what that is. Especially maybe the wife doesn't know anything about a roof. I don't know. There's a lot of husbands that don't know anything about a roof. But, you're gonna take that video and explain to them what's going on. But let's just say that I'm down in the basement. I've had them both there. We go through the inspection, and then I turn to him and say, "Hey, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do an inspection video for our production department. And so you guys are more than welcome to watch me do this." They're going to, because 'cause they've never seen this. And I'm gonna take my phone and I say, "So I'm at 123 Easy Street with Bob and Mary Smith. I'm about to go through the inspection video." So the very first thing is Bob had noticed leaking going over here and leaking over here. And again, you're gonna go through the entire process, and you're going to let them know that what we're going to do is we're going to hand this back to our production department. Your production department may never see that video,
Sure.
but here's the one reason why we do it is nobody else will. Here's what's even worse is your sales reps won't, because they're lazy. We at Top Rep, we say sales reps are lazy, but I'm a champion. So how many champions do you have on your team? Because champions are going to do what others won't take the time to do.
That's right.
And so, it's things like that that just add to the value. Now, you did also mention that there are customers that like to downplay the
Oh,
problem.
they all do, right? Until they sign up and then they say, well, let me show you these other things that we didn't talk about.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so when you get down there, you mention to them that, hey, you had us out. So obviously there's a bigger problem than what you're putting on. What else is going on? You wouldn't have us out if you just saw a crack. What else is going on? Have you seen water come through? And whatever the case may be, there's something else. There's something that scares them, and we need to find out what that is.
Hmm.
I'm not saying bring out the urgency, bring out the fear, and then just pluck that all day long. That is really kind of old and played out. You
Sure.
know, Selling on fear is what poorly trained sales reps do.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know,
Especially when
so
it comes to like mold, you
yeah,
know, like, oh, you got mold growth. Your kids play down here. It's not like you just might as well leave the appointment. That's just not nice. What's interesting is like, I like to have reps look up, like, do a search on mold growth and basements and bring those articles to like a training class. And what's crazy is you can't say what's in those articles because it's crazy what the American Lung Association Standardization Control will say about it, various things with bugs and the life cycle with moisture in basements and mold growth and dry rot and on and on and on. If you're going to say, oh, does anyone have bleeding lung disease in the home? Like that's just not going to work. So, so that dance between how do we educate people? Like, how do we do our job? But then how do we not cross that line of fear? And I think that there's that social intelligence where you really need to be able to read your customers. And you can't be saying the same thing to every single lead. Like you have to read the scenario and act appropriately. Hey, I want to circle back to that again, that video camera. I kind of think that Bill Clinton, one of the greatest things that he did is he empathized with people. And he said, I feel your pain. And that won him so many votes. And I think that when you're videotaping, like you're taking in their scenario in a deeper way than anyone else does. And you're recording it. And then you're going back to the production department. And then the whole team is going to like see like where you live and what you're experiencing and the pain that you're dealing with. And if nothing else, just recording brings empathy to the relationship, I think deeper than anyone else. So I think that's a really powerful tool.
you're absolutely correct. Yes.
We've had several listeners express interest in being guests on our podcast, and we think that's fantastic. If your company generates over $1 million in revenue and you believe you have valuable insights to share, we'd love to hear from you. Additionally, if you are a supplier to the industry and want to explore partnership opportunities with Rainmaker, we're open to discussing collaborations. Finally, if you're a basement waterproofing or foundation repair contractor looking to boost your online marketing efforts and generate more leads, reach out to us. We're here to help you grow.
Let's see. So, phew. All right. So one of the things I've noticed in training new sales reps is I really like to work with new sales reps because they don't have the company jargon down. And I've noticed after about like week 3 and week 4, especially when you hook them up with veterans, they start using fancy words that the customer doesn't understand, but they feel like they're impressing the homeowner. And you said in the beginning that you try to teach your reps to talk differently. So how do you get your veteran reps to not use insider language?
We say that you need to bring the cookies to the bottom shelf. That is even with my own sales reps, we let them know that now there's a difference, and some people might call me sexist when I say this, but it is what it is. For females, use the industry jargon because it's a stereotype, and I'm sure that many of the females have gone out and you've been called honey and sweetie for an hour and a half. "Oh, honey." And, you shouldn't allow them to do that, but understand where that stereotype is. So we say for the females to use that jargon because they need that. And then a lot of the guys that go out bring it to the bottom shelf. And so, make sure that as you're bringing the easy language and understanding of what's going on, if you talk in terms of how they understand it, then they're gonna stay with you. If you use a lot of big words, they're way over their head. They stop listening to you. They start daydreaming.
Sure.
They're done listening to you. It's like a doctor that starts to go through all of this big, heavy word, and that I would be more afraid that when they use those big words because they're trying to impress me rather than the doctor that's just talking on my level.
That's right. Yep. And I think those same reps are talking more than they need to. Two ears, one mouth, use it appropriately. I'm a big believer in having that social awareness and being able to ask those questions. I like transitional questions so it doesn't feel like you're just sometimes those veteran reps, it sounds like it's like they have a song to their pitch. It's like they've said the same thing over and over and over again, and they kind of do the tone thing, and it doesn't feel fresh. It doesn't
Yeah.
have that crispness. What's your thoughts on drawing out what's happening, or using a pitch book, or using a laptop where someone's hitting a button and saying a script?
Say that one more time. What is the
Sure. So in our industry, sometimes the bigger companies are training sales rep on mass volume. And so they give them an iPad and the
Mhm.
rep goes in there and they're largely just hitting that, it's like a PowerPoint slide and they're saying a few words and they're showing pictures. They don't really know
I
waterproofing
see what you're
because,
saying.
yeah, and then some people, like old school guys, sometimes just like to draw everything out and they do it, they're really experienced and they could really go in depth. And then other people might use, pictures from a pitch book. And other people kind of pay attention to the audience and see what they gravitate towards to meet them where they're at. Do you have any thoughts on the best tools to present to the whole?
Yes, and we use a tool called Engage, and with Engage, it's like PowerPoint 5.0. There's a lot of because now that we have social media, people are more apt to look at videos,
Mm,
and those videos should not have any sound to them. They're in behind the slide itself. And if I'm talking about how, I'm gonna crawl into your crawl space, this is what I'm gonna look at. The words should be up front, but then on the back side of those words, it's a guy crawling into the crawl space looking at certain things.
nice.
They're kind of following along, and whether they want to look at the words or look at what's being, done in the background, it's interesting. That's why we call it engage. It's engaging. But that is very important because if what you're going to do is just sit there and talk, that's boring. I'm going to start daydreaming. People look at all their different senses. That's never going to change.
Yeah,
Even if we start to sell over the internet, you're going to have different things that's going to keep your attention. And so, we want to make sure that while I'm talking and going through certain things that they need to be paying attention to, that there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to it that keep their attention. And so, yes, should you have a presentation? 100%, you should have a presentation. And for several reasons, as you get bigger, you do want to have as many robots, meaning scripted professionals in the field. If you give your sales reps too much autonomy to do whatever they want in the house, I mean, you don't have sales reps. You just have people that they're professional visitors is what you have.
for
You
sure.
know,
Absolutely.
So we do want to script them, but we say that there's three different levels to a sales professional. You have a competent sales professional, you have a mastery sales professional, and you have a pro. So once you're competent, you know what the script is, you can regurgitate it. You probably don't have a lot of volume to you. You just understand what you're supposed to say. Then your mastery, where you can master the tone, the pause, what you're supposed to say, how fast or slow you're going to say it. But then when you go pro, you know it so well you can actually listen to what the homeowner's saying. Because
That's
when you're
funny.
a master, you're
I
still
hear you.
thinking.
No, it's true. That's really funny. Like, when they're newer, it's like their brain is it's like when you're starting to drive a car, like, your mind is just like, you can't process all that's going on. But that's true. That's really true. When you're mastering, you can actually listen to what they're saying. I like that. That's good. Hey, all right. So I've noticed that some companies, when they get into solutions, there's two approaches. One is like, I'm the doctor, and this is what I'm recommending. This is our one solution. Another approach is, we are a full service company and we offer a variety of solutions. Let me walk you through what your options are. Do you have a preference to either approach?
So as as custom as you can look without being cookie cutter. So it's like my easiest way to say this is bath fitter. Bath fitter is known to be which is the acrylic bath company. They're
Yep.
known to be custom. There's nothing custom in it, but people look at it as, wow, I can do anything I want in my bathroom. It's
Mm,
like saying you can pick any color as long as it's black. You know, it's you want to look custom, but be as cookie cutter as you can be. Have your systems. Because if you want to grow your business, if you want to grow this to a certain level, you got to grow it with people.
mhm.
And you know what? People have opinions. They do their own thing. And if you can keep your sales reps and they all do the same thing, they all sing the same song, you're going to sell twice as much. You're going to be twice as profitable. And if you ever want to sell the company, you're twice as valuable.
That's right. So when you're coaching a roofing company, and I don't know how roofing companies work. Maybe they have multiple lines from multiple manufacturers, or maybe they're like, "Hey, we only sell this one brand." I don't know how that works, but do the roofing sales reps typically offer a few different options, or do they kind of just streamline it more to say, like, this is what our one offer is?
You're really splitting hairs because we've had some where they have just one thing that they're going to sell the homeowner, and they do very well. And
Yeah,
then we have others where they do a best, better, good. It's never good, better, best. Good, better, best never works. But best, better, good,
love it.
that is, if you're going to do those three options, you want to show them the best thing first. I want to blow them out of their chair.
Price
It's
condition.
also called price conditioning.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
All out
you
there.
right, and then your pricing from there goes down instead of going up.
That's right. The balloon never returns to its original shape.
That's for sure.
That's awesome. And then, so you're when I teach sales, I get a lot of, oh no, our system, we don't even like bother kind of one time closing. Yeah, and they'll say, well, sure. Or, well, yeah, like we like to, but I could tell the whole system is not designed for a one time close by any means. And so the system is typically, we're going to email them, their rep works the lead and that kind of thing. Kind of curious what you teach around that. Do the in so many different areas actually, like, one is like, do you allow the reps to kinda work the lead, and if so, for how long? Also kinda curious, I'm assuming you coach some kind of, like, at least one discount for some reason to buy there today, and what kind of reason do you come up with a discount for?
You got a lot of questions in there, so I'm
I
gonna
know.
cover the
Sorry about that.
discount. Let's cover the discount, and
Sure.
so there are 2 things that a homeowner hates, but works, more than anything. It's one of the most successful things we ever do when it comes to home improvement. The first one is canvassing. Customers, they don't sit there like, "Man, I cannot wait for the next person to come knock on my door and sell me waterproofing or sell me a you know, concrete coating." But it is one of the best forms of advertising, because you don't have any competition. You're the only one standing there. But then the other one is the day of discount. It's not where the homeowner's like, man, I really hope you have a one big discount that I only have for today. But when you do have it and they see it, it works so often. It works in business and it works in retail business to consumer. But you have to position it and you have to have it justified. Now, one of the easiest ways to do this and not feel like you're, slimy is to have a marketing rebate. Bob and Mary, typically we don't offer this until after the work order is signed. However, it doesn't look like we're all that far apart. If you don't mind me doing this, I'm going to share this with you. You know, do you want to hear about it?
And you
And let
gotta
it
get them to
sit there.
yes, pull your fingers open, right? "Give me that thing. Yes, I want it."
Yeah, they even if they're not really planning on buying right now, they're like, "Well, yeah, I'd really like to hear what you have to say." And then we bring it in. And we do let them know we're going to go through the marketing discount, and then we say here's really one of the biggest reasons why we don't usually offer it until after is the kicker, and this is our business efficiency kicker, is we're willing to double the marketing rebate if you see what you like while I'm here. However, you are allowed to say no to the coupon, or you're allowed to say no to the rebate, and you kind of put your hands out. And so, it really makes it easy for the homeowner to make that decision. We had a big painting franchise, and when they first heard about, oh, that just sounds this and that sounds that, we had one guy that tried it, and his closing ratio tripled.
Nice.
And I do mean tripled. I mean, they were at 65%. And I mean, they raised their prices. He said, this is the greatest thing we've ever done. And
Wow.
before you know it, now it's a franchise rule because it just works. So, it's really how you position it, it's how you talk about it. But if all it is, hey, I have this discount, it's only good for today, be ready for the fight
That's right, that's right. I noticed that you said you could say no to the rebate or no to the coupon, and
because they're
that's
not
different than
saying no to
saying
me.
yeah, that's right. I'm sure there was a psychology behind that. What's behind there? It's
Yeah,
easier to say no to a coupon. It feels safer. So then I wanna hear it more because it's easy. I mean, I could say, "Oh, I'm not interested in your coupon," versus, like, rejecting you in the relationship.
that's right.
Got it.
That's absolutely correct.
Those words to me really matter. I mean, they make all the difference in the world when you especially like studying brain science and like what happens inside of us when we hear certain words. I think that's really powerful. There's smooth reps and then there's like reps that kind of knock things over in homes. All right. So I think there's another question. What do you do? Do you coach your home improvement companies? Do and I'm going to set you up for this one. And yeah, there are some questions, but
Yeah.
can the rep call the homeowner before the lead and after the lead?
Um, there is a call that we allow our sales reps to make, and that is I'm about 15 minutes out, just wanted to kind of let you know. And it really helps the homeowner to get ready for you. And it enables you to introduce yourself so that when they see you at the door, it's not like they feel like this is the first time they've ever met you. But be careful because sales reps in larger organizations like to play games. So if they know that this is a trailer and it's not an ideal situation, they're going to jump in to start qualifying. And before you know it, the lead just falls apart. And hey, do you mind calling in and go ahead and cancel this? Doesn't really sound like this is something we can help you out with. As you could probably tell, I've been in a lot of organizations. I've had it.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
you mentioned the follow up.
Yep.
So we recommend that you only allow a sales rep to I don't even like to say own, to have a lead for 3 days. So we're going to let them follow up. But remember that sales reps do one thing really well: sell.
Mhm.
Sales reps do one thing not so well: follow up. So what we do is we bring in these what we call sales liaisons, and they're follow-up specialists. That's all they do is they follow up, they rehash, they squeeze the towel. So these organizations that, and we have organizations that are just $5 million. We have organizations that, like, we've actually put in the sales liaison into an organization just over the last couple of years, and they're over 700 million. And they'll even tell you that it's the greatest thing they've ever done, and they can't believe how big they are, and they didn't never thought of this.
Sure.
You know, having this type of person, and you have to be very careful how you position it to a sales rep. We even make them sign a form in the beginning of their employment, letting them know that this is the expectations. And one of those expectations is letting them know that they get 3 days with a lead. That all company generated leads are leased to you. If they want to buy that lead, by
For
all
sure.
means,
Yep.
it's $500.
That's right.
You know, that appointment is $500. If you want to give me that $500, you can keep it. But it's, again, it comes back into the company. And we have the other thing that happens, and it's crazy that this happens, is that there are organizations that give leads to sales reps to go set. That is about the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They're going to
It
qualify the
cannot,
heck
it
out of
can
it,
never happen.
right? Yeah. All day. It's crazy. I cut you out there a little bit. Did you want to say more about that?
No, no,
Okay.
I don't think that needs to have much
Yeah,
said. I
I
know there's
agree.
some people that are going to watch this. They're going to come up with excuses as to why they do that, and there is no excuse other than they're an owner operator. If they're the owner and they're the only person there, I'm even going to tell them, hey, get somebody to make the phone calls, take the phone calls, whatever. But you should not be the one that does that.
For sure. How about before, and then I want to ask you about your company a little bit and the kind of the clients that you work with, but before the lead, so let's say the customer calls, it's set up for next Monday at 6 p.m. or something. We used to have a big waterproofer that would send a book out. It's the authority play, and we wrote a book on the industry. A lot of companies will send out a picture of their rep, and they have a kid in football and so on, and these are their interests. Do you encourage contractors to do anything like that?
To
Like
do what again? To sponsor them, or?
send out, here's the rep that's going to come to your appointment at 6
Oh, I
p.m.
see what you're saying.
Here's a little background information about the person. Kind of create a little connection and credibility play.
So if you have, and this isn't I guess it would be a kind of a commercial. So if you have that engaged, I'm sure there's other programs out there, but we do a deal where we do a video on that sales rep, and the sales rep, they're coming out of their truck and they close the door and say, hey, I'm Chuck. I'm going to be your rep tomorrow. I can't wait to meet you. One of the first things that I'm going to be doing is, and we go into how this inspection is going to go.
Yeah,
So they get a watch, and it's literally like 60 seconds,
sure.
but it's very quick on what we're going to do while we're there. And it's texted to them, and it makes things a lot easier. What you really don't want to do is give them all this personal background. If the sales rep wants to do personal background, they can, but that homeowner doesn't care.
Yeah.
Remember one thing, and I say this from stage a lot, that you ever heard of go in there and sell yourself, and people are like, oh yeah, yeah. I says, People take that way out of context. That homeowner doesn't care about you. They care about them. But when we say sell yourself as the expert,
Yeah.
which means they don't care about you and your family. Then you get in there and they like, oh, you know what? My son plays golf too. They don't care.
I think that there are, in some cases, I think somehow there's reverberations that connect. I look at Kamala like every time she's asked a question, how does she start that answer? Tell us about what's your economic policy? Well, I grew up in a middle class home and my mom raised. It's like, wait a minute, why is she saying? So she's got like the best experts in probably the world, like coaching her to kind of try to connect with people. And so people can hear that and be like, huh, she's like me. And they don't even, it's like she's totally avoiding the answer, right? Like we know that.
Yeah.
But I definitely hear you. Like you don't want to go too deep into that. I mean, sometimes like 3 words can go a long way, and that's all you need to do to cover it, but move on. But I definitely like the point that you just made about establishing yourself as the expert. Like, you definitely want to do that. And if other companies are not doing that and they see that you have this kind of training, you're already like one leg above your competition. So that's really cool. And I like the video a lot. That's great. So, as far as what I remember when you spoke in Vegas a couple years ago, you've been trained by, and you probably don't want to toot your horn too much, but I'd love to hear some of the larger companies you worked with if you're able to disclose that.
Yeah. I mean, we worked with Power Home, which is the largest in the United States. We've worked with, I've managed Mr. Roof and Able Roof, which are the largest, they're the largest roofers in the country. And, when we're working, when we say that I came into Able, I came into Able and they were about 60 million. So they were pretty sizable already. And within 4 years, they were a little over 220 million. And,
Wow.
company also, American Weather Techs, you know, went into American Weather Techs and their biggest problem was that they couldn't get past $6 million. Like, look, we've owned this thing for 7 years now. They bought it from another company or another guy, and they couldn't get past this $6 million. And I asked him, I said, where would you like to be? He says, we'd like to be closer to 12. I said, how long will it take you, or how long will you allow me to take to get you there? And he said, well, we would like to see us at 12 million within 5 years. We did it in 6 months.
Wow.
And the reason why is that we look at the numbers. If you manage your organization by the numbers, it's a game. It turns into a game. It's a mathematical game. And so if I spend so much, I can get so many leads. And if I get so many leads, I know that my conversion rate is this. So if you understand your numbers, you know that it goes all the way back to how much you're willing to spend to get the data in. And what you do with that data all the way through the process will enable you to be very successful. And so we've done this with hundreds of organizations all over the country, which is why we are, I mean, and again, not to toot our own horn, but why we
Please
are
do.
the largest training platform for home improvement in the United States now.
That's great. And I'm guessing because you work with so many companies, not everyone gets you. And you have a whole bunch of coaches that work under you.
We have
Yeah.
a few. We started in on having the certified coaching thing, and we quickly drew back from that. So I will say that we take on a certain number of clients at a time. But we also have a membership for Top Rep where you can come in. We have a state of the art platform, and it's unlike any platform that you've ever been in. We also have an AI simulator where your sales reps with their cell phone, they can sit in their car, wait for the next appointment. Maybe they have, 30, 40 minutes before their next appointment. They can turn on that simulator and they can go up against Jenny, Nathan, Robert, Aline, any of our AI bots. They can go up against them and say, that AI bot says, hey, you did a great job, but we really just need to think about it. Hey, I totally understand. And you're going to go back and forth. And that simulator is going to videotape you and it's going to give you a score. It's going to transcribe everything that you and that AI bot talked about. And so now and it's a competition inside the company. And so
Love
now
it.
we can see not only our top reps who sell in the house, but what is the correlation between the top rep that sells in the house and the top rep that has the highest score inside the simulator? And so we have some of these big companies. We have a lot of small companies that do it too, but a lot of these big companies, and they're seeing a lot of differences inside of there. And once they get into the simulator, it's funny how these guys at the bottom start to take higher positions
Sure.
inside of the leaderboard now.
Congrats on that tool. That's really cool. I like it a lot. So a couple of questions. One is what's the in the basement waterproofing, there's like the bigger guys that are kind of getting bought out, and then there's a bunch of smaller people. Where can a smaller company plug in with your network?
So it's very easy to come in and we actually, speaking there at the World of Concrete, we got quite a few of the waterproofing companies that have come to us. One of them has really taken off.
Nice.
Actually two, but one that we work very closely with. And now they're teaching, which we think it's fantastic. But you know, to get into for us, you can get into the membership and it's a much less expensive than to go one-on-one with us. We also inside that membership, you have group coaching on every Wednesday. so that it's not just putting all your people into a bunch of video recordings and hope they do pretty well. We're coaching you through this. It's a membership, not just an online platform. Then they can come out to. We have 2 boot camps a year, and that's very limited. We only allow 300 contractors to come, and we sell out every one of them. So,
I bet
but
you
we have different levels. It just depends on what they want, how personalized they want it. But we have people that are brand new coming into it. We had another one that he started his business, a waterproofing business, before he came out to the world of concrete. And when we asked how long you've been doing this, he says, "Well, we haven't even sold our first deal yet." And
wow.
I believe he's at a little over 10 million now.
Wow.
It's
Amazing.
awesome.
Really good. And you're speaking at the World of Concrete with kind of connection to the Basement Health Association. w- Tell us about that. Why is it going to be amazing, and why should everyone hearing this podcast really go to that conference and hear your content?
One of the biggest reasons is I don't sell from the stage. If what you think I'm going to do is come out there and sell top rep, it's really it's going to be all content. I don't hold anything back. I don't say if you want to hear the rest of it, it's none of that. We are literally leaving everything right there so that, and I suggest that you bring, your audio recorder, whatever it is that you want. I'm not the type of person that says, I don't want any video. I don't want any audio. I want you to take back what we teach you and be extremely successful. If you get so much out of that that you never need to be coached by us, I'm fine with that. We have enough business that if you get exactly what you need, we made a big statement on the last time we spoke, and we put out there, if you are being ghosted right now by customers, please raise your hand. And like, everybody raised their hand. I says, I want you to take 4 or 5 of them right now, get into your CRM, take 4 or 5, and I want you to send this text. We said this very early on. And once we were done and I got off stage and was talking with some of the other people there, I had a guy come up to me. He says, all 4 of the people that have been ghosting me
Really?
responded to that text.
Do you care to
And
share your magic words?
yeah, and I'll even tell you where we got it from. We got it from my coach, which is Chris Voss. Everybody's got a coach, and my coach is a guy by the name of Chris Voss. He's a world-renowned hostage negotiator.
Hmm.
And the text is, hey, this is Chuck from Top Rep Waterproofing. Have you given up on your waterproofing project?
Hmm.
And that's all it is.
Love it.
Your name, where you're from, and have you given up on your such and such project?
Love
Do
that.
not put anything else in that text. And what it is, it's a no question. And it's easy to answer. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. We've been so busy. Now you've re-engaged that homeowner.
Brilliant. That's the price of this podcast in and of
Yes.
itself. That's awesome. Hey, Chuck, how does someone get in touch with you, or what's the best way to reach out?
So the easiest way to reach out to us, it's topreptraining.com. You can also get on Facebook and look up you can either look me up, Chuck Toki, or look up Top Rep High Performance Sales Training and get into our group. It's a free group, and we give tips and we answer questions in there. If somebody says, hey, I've got this issue, if you send us a Facebook message, we always answer it. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with us.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I thought that was a really interesting content. It was really good. It's awesome. I look forward to hearing you at the World of Concrete in Vegas.
Thanks so much, Bill.
You've been listening to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast, where basement waterproofing and foundation repair business owners and industry experts share marketing and sales information that helps you reach more customers. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and get all of our show notes at rainmakerforcontractors.com/podcast.